The shell was already screaming through the sky before anyone understood that history had just shifted. At dawn, the valley lay beneath a thin veil of mist, the kind that softened everything it touched. Trees blurred into shadows. Rivers lost their edges. Even the outlines of men preparing for war seemed less real. Somewhere far beyond the horizon, 20 kilometers away, a steel barrel was locked onto a set of coordinates no human eye could ever see. No tank. No infantry column. No visible enemy. Just a patch of earth reduced to numbers on a map. Below, the Panzer division moved with absolute confidence. They believed themselves untouchable. These were Hitler's pride, veterans forged in fire, steel crosses pinned to their chests, certainty welded into their bones. Their tanks advanced in disciplined columns, engines rolling forward like distant thunder. Officers stood half-exposed from their turrets, binoculars raised, scanning the skies for aircraft. Not artillery. Not at this distance. Not today. They had crushed everything in their path for weeks. Inside the firing position, hands trembled, not from fear, but from comprehension. Every man there understood what was being attempted. This was not doctrine. This was not safe. This was a gamble balanced on mathematics, weather, and nerve. One shell. Extreme range. No visual confirmation. Wind calculations were checked, erased, and written again. Assumptions stacked on top of assumptions. One man swallowed hard. Another whispered a prayer he had not spoken since childhood. Then the order came. Fire. The division's reputation preceded it like a shadow. Wherever it appeared, resistance collapsed. Villages surrendered before the first shot was fired. Allied commanders rerouted entire operations just to avoid facing it head-on. These men had survived Poland, France, the Eastern Front. They believed luck followed them like a loyal dog. Inside a Panzer, for near the center of the column, Oberleutnant Karl Weiss allowed himself a rare smile. The campaign was going well, almost too well. But superstition was for civilians. Wars were won with steel, discipline, and momentum. The column slowed near a crossroads. Engineers moved forward to inspect bridges. Infantry fanned out, boots crunching against gravel. Radios crackled with reports that sounded reassuring. No enemy armor detected. No aircraft overhead. Enemy artillery believed to be far behind the lines. 20 kilometers behind enemy lines. The men relaxed. Helmets loosened. Cigarettes were lit. Laughter flickered briefly through the ranks. None of them looked up. The gun crew had not slept. Maps were spread across wooden crates, corners weighted down with tools and shell casings. Wind speeds were recalculated again and again. Someone argued about elevation. Someone else snapped back. Voices were sharp, strained, unmistakably human. The commander, older than most, eyes hollowed by years of war, understood the consequences. If this failed, there would be no excuses. They would face a court-martial. Worse, they would have exposed the gun's position. But intelligence was clear. The Panzer division would bottleneck here. For less than 15 minutes. One chance. As the shell was loaded, the argument died. The crew fell silent. The gun felt alive now, hot metal breathing, waiting. The commander raised his hand. And dropped it. The first explosion did not sound like victory. It sounded like confusion. A tank vanished in a violent flash, leaving behind a crater where steel had existed a heartbeat earlier. The shockwave flipped another vehicle onto its side. Men were hurled through the air like broken figures. Radios erupted into static and screaming voices that no longer made sense. Then came the second impact. And the third. Not random. Not luck. Precision. From 20 kilometers away. Discipline collapsed in seconds. Officers shouted orders that were swallowed by smoke and fire. The road disappeared beneath rolling black clouds. Ammunition cooked off, detonating tanks from the inside, ripping them open like tin. Inside his turret, Karl Weiss tried to climb out. The world turned white. By the way, if you're holding your breath through this moment with me, make sure to hit subscribe. What happens next shatters everything we think we know about World War II artillery. The barrage did not stop. When it finally ended, the road no longer resembled a road. Neither did the division. When silence fell, it felt unnatural, almost obscene. The valley burned. Dozens of tanks lay destroyed. Supply trucks were torn apart. Command vehicles were gone, hit early deliberately with intent. Survivors staggered through the smoke, deafened, bleeding, stunned by an enemy they had never seen. This was not a defeat. This was erasure. Reconnaissance aircraft arrived too late. From above, The scene looked like the aftermath of an air raid, but no planes had been there. German command struggled to explain it. Reports contradicted physics. Artillery officers refused to accept the distance involved. Hitler demanded answers. None satisfied him. The gun crew relocated immediately. The weapon would never fire like that again. The men were congratulated quietly, then reassigned, then forgotten. The Panzer Division was officially recorded as destroyed in engagement with enemy forces. No mention of distance. No mention of a single gun. The war moved on. But those who were there never forgot the sound, the moment when the sky itself seemed to reach down and strike the earth. Today, the valley is quiet. Grass grows where steel once burned. Birds nest where radios once screamed. No marker explains why so many men died in one place, all at once. But somewhere in the archives, the maps still exist. The calculations remain, written in pencil by steady hands. Proof that on one day in World War II, a single shot traveled 20 kilometers and erased Hitler's finest armored force. Not with brute force, but with precision.